So, my cousin just stole my fiancé right in front of me. And me? I ended up in the emperor's arms, munching on pork knuckles like a queen. Honestly, who needs a fiancé when you have imperial food and zero shame? Let me tell you, revenge has never tasted so delicious. I am the daughter of a fifth-rank official in the capital, born of a concubine. I have neither a good reputation nor any particular talent, and I'm not willing to suffer hardships either. As a result, my marriage prospects became a long-standing problem. Then one day, Marquis Jianqinxue Duanyuan came to propose. He was a middle-aged widower who had already lost 3 wives and had a house full of children. I shook my head like a rattledrum.
No way.
I don't want to become some old nanny. But my trusted maid Jiu said, Miss, that would make you the wife of a first-rank marquis. Choices matter more than hard work. I've heard that Marquis Duan keeps 8 concubines. All of them wear gold and silver and live in comfort with servants at their beck and call. We don't need to cause trouble or fight for power. The children have wet nurses to care for them. You can just sit there as a figurehead, enjoy good food and easy living. If such good fortune fell into your lap, would you take it? That actually made a lot of sense. I've never been ambitious, nor am I particularly clever. But I'm very good at taking advice.
1.
When Marquis Jianqinxue, the middle-aged widower Duanyuan, came to ask for my hand, I hesitated. My confidant Jiu counted his advantages on her fingers. The Marquis is deeply trusted by His Majesty, holds real power, and his household is drowning in wealth. Besides, there are no parents-in-law above you, and the children already have wet nurses. None of it depends on your womb. Look at the young lady from the Tongjing office across the street. She insisted on marrying a poor scholar. Now she runs back to her parents' house every other week begging for money. And the aunt from the Dali temple minister's family next door, she endured years of hardship until her husband finally succeeded, only to end up old and worn out, while his concubines and illegitimate children are flourishing. The truth is, when a noble young lady marries a poor man, all she gets is endless hardship and endless tears. But he's lost 3 wives. I muttered. She lowered her voice. I asked around. The first died of illness, the second from depression. The third brought it on herself. She abused the children and even caused the death of one. After being divorced, she took her own life. My eyes went wide. Besides, Jiu continued, Marquis Duan's 8 concubines are all alive and well, dressed in finery and waited on hand and foot. So, she concluded, we need self-awareness. Don't stir up trouble, don't grab power, just eat well and live comfortably as a decorative figurehead. Then you'll enjoy a life of luxury. If this blessing were offered to you, would you take it?
Yes.
Absolutely yes. Jiu is, after all, my #1 strategist. And it turns out her favorite saying, choices matter more than effort, has saved me from countless detours in life. I may not be especially smart, but I've always been good at listening.
2.
I am the 4th young lady of the Zhou family, born to a concubine. My birth mother died early, so I've survived under the care of my legal mother. I know nothing of music, chess, calligraphy, or painting. I'm not skilled in poetry or literature either. Aside from a face that's passable, I have nothing to offer. Even more frustrating, my legal mother spent 3 full years trying to find me a match. High-ranking families looked down on me, while lower-ranking ones thought I wasn't worth the cost. So when Marquis Duan came to propose, my father was surprised, but undeniably tempted. If they didn't marry me off soon, I'd end up stuck at home forever. My legal mother asked for my opinion as a formality. Jiu reminded me, the key is sincerity. So I told her honestly, daughter has no grand ambitions and is afraid of hardship. Marquis Duan's family is wealthy. I know a bit about his household situation. You can keep the betrothal gifts, just leave me some dignity. You've worked so hard managing this household all these years. Her eyes reddened as she took my hand. Good child. Your dowry will not be lacking. The Duan family's betrothal gifts were indeed extravagant. Gold and treasures filled the room. I grabbed a handful of gold peanuts and stuffed them into my legal mother's arms. Mother, hide these quickly. Don't let father see them. She laughed and scolded me. That's your own father. Who treats me well, I know very clearly, I muttered. In the end, she only kept half of the betrothal gifts and gave the rest to me as part of my dowry. That night, Jiu sat calculating on an abacus, her eyes shining. Miss, we've struck it rich. Your dowry is even more generous than the eldest young lady's was. Overjoyed, I rewarded her heavily. You're so clever. It's a pity you're only a maid. Jiu grinned. Choices matter more than hard work. As long as I follow you, eat well, live well, and never suffer grievances, why would I leave? The survival rule for daughters of concubines: know your place and lie down sincerely. When it's time to cling to a powerful thigh, don't hesitate. When it's time to show loyalty, don't be vague. Sometimes, having no ambition is the best ambition of all.
3.
On our wedding night, I sat on the bridal bed, clutching a sesame cake. Jiu sneaked back, squatting at the foot of the bed while nibbling on her own cake, and reported, "The Duan household is impeccably organized. The stewards are capable, and the guards are strict. Marquis Duan is definitely a force to be reckoned with." I felt my heart sink. Then, what should I do? Simple, she wiped her mouth. A man this powerful hates anyone trying to compete with him. Just be obedient and clever, and everything will go smoothly. Thinking about the bridal chamber, my palms began to sweat. Jiu leaned closer, lowering her voice. Just think of it as enjoying yourself. Even Princess Anyang spends money on young men, so it's clearly not a bad thing. My face turned crimson. You little brat. Where did you even learn that? Duan Yuan walked in. Tall, cold, and imposing, his eyes seemed bottomless. I nervously clutched my wedding gown, and the bridal chamber felt like torture. He was like a tireless beast, and I was thoroughly exhausted. Afterward, he even personally applied medicine for me. I was so embarrassed I wanted to sink into the floor, but I didn't dare move. That cold face of his was terrifying. Sorry, he murmured, pulling me into his arms. It's been a long time. I lost control. As if. The 8 concubines in the house are just for show, huh? What a beast. The next day, I went to the ancestral hall, sore all over, to pay respects and meet the family. The Duan household stewards had already prepared gifts for the occasion. Elders presented shoes, peers gave bracelets, and younger relatives handed out money pouches. Duan Yuan's children came to kowtow. The eldest legitimate daughter, Duan Rong, 10 years old, looked at me with disdain. The eldest son, Duan Chun, 8, was obedient and reserved. The remaining children from the second and third wives, along with the concubines' children, filled the room. My head was spinning. Thankfully, Duan Yuan soon dismissed them. That night, I endured another round, even harsher than the night before. I could barely get out of bed the next morning. Jiu didn't intervene in serving me for the past 2 days. She was busy counting my dowry and the gifts from the family. She tapped her abacus joyfully. Miss, we've hit the jackpot again. Looking at the numbers in the ledger, I rubbed my aching back. Yes, silver really does ease pain. On the day of the return visit, my sisters gathered in one place, and tensions simmered beneath polite conversation. The eldest sister smoothed her sleeves, her eyes filled with disdain, but she spoke formally. Third sister has always had her own opinions. The second sister straightened her back, old bracelets complementing her newly made clothes. How could father marry you off to a titled noble as a second wife? It will spark needless gossip. The third sister, dressed simply, stared coldly at my jewelry and sneered. Little wife raised well, but her eyes are shallow. I smiled. To the eldest, I said, though my husband may not be an ideal match, at least I don't have in-laws to serve or petty duties to worry about. To the second, I sighed. Marquis Duan doesn't know the finer things. He can't compare to second brother-in-law and sister enjoying tea and chess. Then, admiring the third, I added, he can't possibly put you first as your husband does. I can only follow my husband's lead. He says east, I dare not go west. I self-deprecatingly said. As for me, I'm just greedy for comfort and can't handle hardships. A second wife is fine. The Duan family won't skimp on food and clothing anyway. The table went silent. My sisters ate quietly and didn't speak again. Later, my legal mother pulled me aside, her eyes slightly red. I've put you through a lot. The household was difficult, but thanks to Marquis Duan's generous betrothal gifts, everyone could save face. She added softly, civil officials rarely interact with titled nobles. In your new home, it will all depend on yourself. I nodded, thinking, not bad, peace and quiet at last. On the carriage back to the Duan residence, I had Jiue rub my sore back while I murmured quietly. Marquis Duan's demands are just too much. I can hardly keep up. Jiue looked at me with a complicated expression. My lady, you really don't know the difference between a full man and a hungry man. Just say this in front of me, but never in front of the other young ladies, or you'll get beaten with a sack over your head. I was stunned, a little confused. Jiue quietly lifted the corner of the curtain. Duan Yuan sat upright on the carriage, his posture commanding. Ignoring his lustful flaws, he was undeniably awe-inspiring. She whispered in my ear, "He wants your youthful body. You want his power and wealth. Both get what they need. Very fair." But my private parts still ached faintly. Jiue comforted me. There's no free lunch in the world. You have to give something to get something. She made a good point. That night, Duan Yuan came to my room again. Seeing him, my legs trembled. Yet thinking of the luxurious life awaiting me, I didn't dare refuse. I could only serve him wholeheartedly at dinner. Seeing him in a good mood, I delicately brought up household chores and arrangements for the children. He glanced at me. The household staff will handle the daily chores. You don't need to do everything yourself, but you can supervise them occasionally and check the accounts from time to time. Check accounts?
I can do that.
As for his children, he looked at me. They each have their own wet nurses and servants.
So, should I manage them or not?
I glanced at Jiue. She ignored me, standing respectfully to the side like a wooden post. That night, Duan Yuan began to exhaust me again. This time, I followed Jiue's advice and tried to relax my body. Jiue said that the marital bed is a source of mutual enjoyment, and if I changed my mindset, I could actually find pleasure in it. And this time, it actually was a bit enjoyable. 4. On the 4th day after marrying into the Duan household, I finally met Duan Yuan's 8 concubines. Each of them was decked out in jewels, dressed to the nines. Those without children had 6 attendants each, while those with children had wet nurses and maids as well. Their monthly allowance depended on the number of children, 40 taels versus 10. Compared to my pitiful 1 tael a month as a concubine's daughter, it was like heaven and earth. When the concubines served tea, they were perfectly proper. The gifts were all prepared by the household stewards, so I only had to go through the motions. Jiue reminded me, Marquis Duan treats you well. He's thought of everything. You should show some appreciation to your benefactor. She suggested that I make an undergarment for Duan Yuan. He even cooperated, immediately taking off his coat, so I could take measurements. But seeing his body covered in jagged scars made my stomach churn. I couldn't hide my disgust. Duan Yuan's eyes darkened. "Madam, are you disgusted by these scars?" I averted my gaze and stayed silent. He sneered coldly, put his coat back on, and left.
Great.
Offended the benefactor already. Jiue stomped her foot. "Miss, those are medals for protecting the country. You should cherish them, not despise them." I felt a little wronged. Those scars, they're jagged and horrifying. I just couldn't help it at the time. It's okay. You're still a newcomer. Newcomers have a grace period. She stayed up all night giving me extra guidance. Tomorrow, when the Marquis leaves the office, we'll intercept him. Just follow my plan. But that night, Duan Yuan stayed in Mistress Qian's courtyard. Jiue patted my shoulder. "Don't worry. Watch me tomorrow." The next morning at breakfast, Jiue arranged the dishes while whispering instructions to me. "You are the lady of the house. You can't just snatch someone in public. We have to let the Marquis come to you himself. She served me a bowl of soup and lowered her voice even more. Today, do just two things. First, have the kitchen use the Marquis' portion to cook Angelica pork trotter soup. It's excellent for old injuries. Second, personally deliver the unfinished clothing measurements to the study in the front courtyard. I hesitated. What if he refuses to see me? That's even better. Jiyue's eyes twinkled. Give the measurements to a page, and let the knee pad you've hidden in your sleeve accidentally fall out. Make sure it happens in the corridor. He usually walks. I followed her instructions. At noon, I went to the front courtyard. Duan Yuan was indeed meeting his officials. I handed the measurement sheet to the page, and as I turned, the knee pad just so happened to slip from my sleeve. Madam, the page hurriedly picked it up. I took it, traced the cloud-patterned embroidery with my fingers, and murmured softly, "The Marquis has an old knee injury. I wonder if it's been hurting these past few rainy days." I pressed my lips together mid-sentence, as if I had said too much, and quickly walked away. Before dinner, the soup was ready. I had Jiyue carry the food container, timing it perfectly to accidentally meet Duan Yuan at the second gate as he returned from the office. He was talking to the steward, but paused slightly when he saw me holding the food box. "Marquis," I bowed, handing the box to Jiyue to present it. "The kitchen made soup for your old injuries. It's good to nourish blood and energy." Duan Yuan looked at the food box, then at me. I lowered my eyes, fingers twisting the handkerchief unconsciously, a trick Jiyue had taught me, signaling guilty but too afraid to speak. The steward stepped back, reading the situation. Suddenly, Duan Yuan asked, "Madam, were you frightened by my scars yesterday?" I looked up, shook my head quickly, and bit my lip. After a moment, I whispered, I was just thinking how much it must have hurt when you were injured. 7 parts genuine, 3 parts acting. I really did feel a little warmth in my eyes recalling those jagged scars." He was silent for a moment, then reached out and took the food box. "Tonight, we'll dine in your courtyard." At dinner, he drank an extra bowl of the soup. Before going to bed, I brought out the soft measuring tape I had prepared. Yesterday, we didn't finish taking measurements. This time, he took off his coat. I took a deep breath, lightly touching the longest scar on his back. My fingertips trembled a little, but I didn't pull away. "Still gross?" His tone was unreadable. I shook my head, voice muffled. "At the time, did it hurt?" He suddenly turned and held my hand, placing it over the arrow scar on his chest. "This one hurt the most," he said, pausing. "But now it doesn't hurt anymore." That night, he stayed in my room again, but was much gentler. Afterward, he sent over a lot of fine fabrics, gold, silver, and jewelry. Jua held the fabric, squealing, "This is really gold thread." She picked up a gold bar and bit it. "It's solid gold." Beaming, she said, "See, even a benefactor needs coaxing. But yesterday, you overdid the acting. A little tearfulness is enough. If you actually cried, it would look fake." I glared at her in the mirror. I really was scared by that arrow scar. Jiyue quickly shoved all the gold and silver into the trunk. "These are what you've earned with your hard work. They must be stored carefully." We searched the rooms several times, but couldn't find a good hiding place.
She started to panic.
"Shall we secretly dig a hole in the floor?" I shook my head vigorously. With only her as my dowry maid, and all the attendants around us being Duan household staff, what could we even do?
"Just put it under the bed.
You can go outside and buy some land or estates secretly." Jiyue's eyes lit up. "Now that's a plan."
5.
The steward's account books were spread out on the table. Jiyue had been scrutinizing them for 3 days before finally closing them with a sigh. No, madam. These accounts are just ridiculously clean," she whispered. "Take the gold-threaded charcoal, for instance. Its market price outside is double what the Marquis paid. Anyone would think there's a hidden profit, but the fact that the Duan household can get it at that price, that skill. I could see it too. Every steward in the Duan household was sharp as a tack. Everything was handled perfectly, the accounts were crystal clear, and even for me, the lady of the house who didn't manage affairs, They were respectful and meticulous. There was literally nothing to complain about. After observing for half a month, I finally felt I had a grasp of things. All the expenses for the rear courtyard were directly allocated from the outer estate. In my courtyard alone, over 40 people served me, covering all food, clothing, and daily needs. On top of that, I received 1,000 taels of silver every month. The first time I saw that pile of glistening silver being carried in, Jiuyue, and I just stared at it in shock. "Madam, is this just pocket money?" Jiuyue's voice trembled. I picked up a tael of silver. It was heavy. I thought of the days when I was a concubine's daughter, barely scraping by on one tael a month and having to carefully stretch it to feed and clothe my attendants. And now, the real value of choice over effort, Jiuyue murmured, is still on the rise. I picked up a 50 tael ingot and handed it to her. "A reward for you." Reward when it's due. Shared interests make alliances stronger. She took it without hesitation, pressing it to her chest, eyes crescent-shaped with a smile. "Hee, following Madam around, 3 days' meals for 9 meals, life's good." I laughed too, and tapped her on the forehead. Mainly because my little strategist here gives excellent advice. That only works if the master listens. She poured tea for me, tone serious. "If you don't take advice, even if I'm full of tricks, they won't work." I looked at the silver on the table and nodded in agreement. It's important to be with the right people, but listening to advice is an even rarer quality. 6. Life had become comfortable. Duan Yuan seemed satisfied with my young body, pocket money was plentiful, jewels endless, and at every banquet, everyone was polite. After all, he was a favorite in the emperor's eyes. Occasionally, he would have me take Sister Rong along to these events. That girl always held her nose in the air, calling me over and over, "You're nothing but my mother's replacement." I didn't bother responding. Replacement or not, I still got to enjoy fine clothes and delicious food. Until the birthday banquet at the Dingyuan Marquis household, Sister Rong returned to her maternal home, and her arrogance could no longer be restrained. Even though the Dingyuan Marquis's wife scolded her harshly, the disdain in her eyes remained. At the year-end ancestral worship, I noticed that only 2 ancestral tablets were present in the hall, the first wife, Lady Ling, and the second wife, Lady Zhu. "And Lady Li?" I couldn't help asking. Duan Yuan's tone was as indifferent as commenting on the weather. Jealous and incompetent, she was dismissed. Even in death, she will not enter the Duan family tomb. Sister Rong immediately snapped. "She killed my precious little brother." "Serves her right." She then glared fiercely at her younger brother, just over 2 years old, the child Lady Li had left behind. The wet nurse hurriedly apologized. "Miss, the child had nothing to do with it. Who cares about that wretch?" "Miss," I interrupted quietly, "Lady Li did wrong, but the dead owe no debt. If you dislike Yang Yin, just stay away from him." Sister Rong gave me a cold sneer. "Pretending to be noble? You're just my mother's replacement. What right do you have to act like the Marquis's wife?" "Replacement?" I stared at the little girl.
Who taught you that?
"The Marquis married me, because I'm worthy of being married. I am me, not a shadow of your mother. I am his legitimate wife, your nominal stepmother. Your disrespect. Where is your sense of propriety and upbringing?" She froze, clearly not expecting me, the replacement, to strike back. Duan Yuan had been silent the whole time. Now he finally spoke calmly. "Sister Rong, apologize to your mother." Sister Rong's eyes went wide, disbelief written all over her face. I lowered my eyes, adjusting my sleeves. Jiuyue was right. Without desire, one is strong. I expected nothing from her, so I didn't need to swallow my pride. That night, as Jiuyue helped me remove hairpins, she muttered, "You should have done this ages ago." "Replacement? TSK, they don't understand. What we're after is practical benefit, not some fake sentiment." Looking in the mirror, I touched my face. Yes, I am me. Life as the Marquis's wife was quite comfortable. No one was going to trouble me. Duan Yuan returned reeking of alcohol. I personally brought him the sobering soup and helped him undress. After I had attended to him, I spoke. I've already punished Sister Rong, and she'll remain under house arrest for another month. Once her confinement is over, I'll make her kowtow to you and apologize. I was slightly surprised and quickly said, "There's no need for that, Marquis. Sister Rong, though spoiled, lost her mother young and is rather pitiable. She's your eldest daughter, the eldest sibling, and young Chun is also her full brother. With me as stepmother and a whole bunch of concubine mothers, if she weren't strong, she might have been bullied already. I think a light punishment is enough. After all, she's the legitimate firstborn and deserves her due respect." Duan Yuan stared at me, pinched my chin, and forced me to look at him. "Are these your true feelings?" I met his bottomless gaze calmly. "Of course. Being married to you is already a blessing I've earned over lifetimes. I only wish for your care and the respect I deserve. As for anything else, why demand more? I know better than to bite off more than I can chew." He looked at me, tone inscrutable. "Sister Rong has always been disrespectful to you. You really don't mind? This man really is suspicious." I pretended to be annoyed. "I'm not a pile of gold or treasure. Of course, she doesn't like me. I didn't raise her. I'm an adult. Why would I fuss over a child? Besides, she's the Marquis's eldest daughter and strong-willed. She won't be at a disadvantage in her future marriage. What's there for the Marquis to worry about? If the Marquis feels indebted to me, then he ought to treat me better," I said, snuggling closer to him. Duan Yuan gave me a lot of gold, silver, golden peanuts, and silver beans, a whole basketful. Jiyue was even more excited than I was, holding the golden beans. With this money, traveling across the country will be plenty enough. I asked her, "And you? Any plans for the future?" She said matter-of-factly, "Of course, I'm staying with you. Choice over effort, remember?" I said, "Aren't you afraid that if I ever fall out of favor, I won't be able to protect you?" I understood better than anyone that when beauty fades, love often does too. Jiyue suggested, "I have a child. Having a child, regardless of gender, would give some leverage. Even if I fell out of favor, there would still be hope." I touched my stomach, saying nothing. Jiyue paused, then also suggested I cultivate good relations with my stepchildren. That way, if I really fell out of favor, they could buffer the situation. Honestly, Duan Yuan had so many children, but he favored none. Even the children of his first wife were treated indifferently. Using children to bind a man wouldn't work. Duan Yuan never lacked women to bear him children. As for currying favor with the stepchildren, I felt it was unnecessary. In great houses, even a mother and child can turn on each other for power, let alone step-siblings. I didn't want that trouble. Jiyue thought for a moment and admitted she had no solution. Now it was my turn to comfort her. "Go, check how many assets I have now." Her eyes lit up, and the anxiety left her. "If that day ever comes, we won't starve." She proudly brought out the property deeds. "It's all arranged. In Tongzhou, we bought 200 acres of prime rice paddies and 300 acres of woodland, plus a small 2-courtyard estate. Also, a small 2-courtyard house in Tongzhou town, with 2 gatekeepers." I happily looked at the names on the property and land deeds, and had Jiyue store them carefully. Then I asked about her lifelong plans. When Jiyue came with my dowry to the Duan household, I returned her indentured contract and registered her properly with the authorities. She was now a legitimate citizen. She could marry freely. But she said, "I won't marry. Why should I? I have silver now, spend it on myself, and my family won't go hungry. If I married, it would all go to my husband's family. No way." She was entirely devoted to me. I felt a pang of affection and had a sudden idea. What if I make you an official concubine? Then we'd never be apart. Jiao immediately spit out her tea. "No, I appreciate it, but I'm not interested in being a concubine." I sighed. "All right then. If you ever take a fancy to someone, tell me. I'll make sure you marry in style." Jiao rolled her eyes. "First take care of yourself."
7.
As expected, those who don't plan ahead soon face trouble. Sister Rong, still defiant after being confined and having her hands struck, actually sent someone to lodge a complaint with the Dingyuan Marquis' household. They arrived faster than I had imagined. A huge crowd poured in. The Dingyuan Marquis' wife leaned on a dragon-headed cane, while Sister Rong clung to her, holding up her red, swollen hands and sobbing. Everyone in the room stared at me with eyes like daggers. She's just a concubine's daughter, yet dares to humiliate the legitimate firstborn? The Dingyuan Marquis' wife spoke venomously. A young daughter-in-law nearby sneered. Flying up the branch, does she think she's a phoenix? Our Sister Rong is just a piece of flesh that fell off Lady Ling. Finished? I interrupted her. My voice was low, but suddenly the entire hall went silent. Jiyue lightly tapped the back of my hand behind me. I stood and fixed my gaze on the Dingyuan Marquis' wife. Madam, it's natural to feel concern for your granddaughter. But there's something that needs to be made clear. I turned to Sister Rong. You claim I humiliated you. Tell me, did I scold you? Strike you? Cut your monthly allowance? Shorten your food and clothing? Or stop you from visiting your maternal home? Sister Rong choked. Have I ever imposed rules on you these past 6 months? Have you ever formally greeted your stepmother? Your punishment from the Marquis is because of your disrespect and harsh words toward your stepmother, I said calmly. If you think it's too severe, we can call a few familiar ladies to judge fairly. Let's see which young lady in the world would call her own brother a wretch and her stepmother a replacement. The faces of the Dingyuan household shifted slightly. I continued. As for this replacement talk, I smiled. Since you brought it up, let me make it clear, I am myself, not anyone else's shadow. The Marquis married me. I married him willingly. What we do as husband and wife is no business of outsiders. What a sharp tongue. The Dingyuan Marquis' wife slammed her cane down. You? I picked up the teacup in my hand and, unhesitatingly, threw it at her feet. The grandmother and granddaughter recoiled in shock, frozen in the Wang Wali armchairs. Since the young lady disdains me and refuses to acknowledge me as stepmother, I will not trouble you. Go back to your maternal home. Sister Rong, emboldened by her maternal backing, shouted, I am the Marquis' eldest daughter. If anyone leaves, it's you. Impudent. Duan Yuan's voice suddenly came from the doorway. He had appeared unnoticed, still in his court robes. His gaze swept across the room, and the Dingyuan household instantly seemed half its size. He walked over and sat beside me. Sister Rong was disrespectful to her stepmother and spoke ill. She is to kneel in the ancestral hall as punishment. His tone was even, without fluctuation. If the maternal grandmother feels my discipline is improper, take her back to your home for upbringing. Silence fell over the hall. Sister Rong's face went pale. The Dingyuan Marquis' wife trembled as she stood. Marquis Duan, what do you mean by this? Exactly this, Duan Yuan said, his tone as casual as discussing daily affairs. The wife I married is not to be insulted by outsiders. See them out. Once the guests left, I remained standing stiffly. Duan Yuan pried apart my tightly clenched hands, leaving crescent-shaped impressions in his palm. He clicked his tongue. Usually you're so patient. Today, quite fierce. I suppressed a sigh and whispered. Their words were too harsh. He suddenly laughed and flicked my forehead. Good, you know how to fight back. Worth every bit of care. That night, Jiyue applied medicine to my hands while muttering, when you need to be firm, you must be firm. Otherwise, they'll think you're easy to bully. I nodded in agreement. Normally, one can lie low, but when the line is crossed, you must rise. Otherwise, everyone thinks they can pinch you. As for Sister Rong, Duan Yuan didn't beat or scold her. He only said a few words. You may resent Lady Zhu and Lady Li, which is understandable. But since Lady Zhou entered the household, when has she wronged you? Sister Rong straightened her neck. I just don't like her. Why should a mere 5th-rank officer's concubine's daughter climb over me? Duan Yuan smiled. You disdain a 5th-rank officer's daughter, yet cannot outmatch the daughter of a 3rd-rank official and end up manipulated. A marquis's eldest daughter. And this is your ability? Only knows how to pick on the weak. Sister Rong choked. Afraid of the strong and bullying the weak is one thing, but being foolish too. Duan Yuan's tone turned cold. With such a disposition, don't expect a high-ranking marriage. He then dealt with her attendants. Her personal maid was beaten to death. The others, under pressure, revealed that the wet nurse had instigated her, fearing that the new wife would punish Sister Rong harshly if favored, so she encouraged her to strike first. The wet nurse arrogantly claimed, "I serve the Dingyuan household. The Marquis cannot touch me." Duan Yuan, furious, immediately sent Sister Rong and the wet nurse back to the Dingyuan household. Within 2 days, they returned with a grand procession, publicly executing the wet nurse and formally apologizing to me. It was this wretched girl who misled us. We thought the new wife, like the previous two, would secretly mistreat Sister Rong, said the Dingyuan Marquis's wife earnestly, holding my hand. Henceforth, we entrust Sister Rong to you, madam. If she misbehaves, punish her as you see fit. We will have no complaints. I withdrew my hand with a smile. She is not my biological daughter. Her fate is up to the Marquis. I came to enjoy life, not to be a scapegoat. Raising children? That costs extra. The Dingyuan Marquis's wife quickly added flattery. A stepmother is still a mother. The child at least calls you mother. How could you ignore that? I replied slowly. I married into the Marquis's household for wealth and glory, for fine clothes and food. I have no right to instruct the eldest daughter. I do not seek her respect, only that we do not interfere with each other. Silence filled the hall. Who didn't know my humble origins? The nobles laughed at me for climbing high. The virtuous families mocked me for chasing wealth. I was a mouse in a windbox squeezed from both sides. Jiyue later laughed. They're right. Let's just admit it generously. She combed my hair with a light voice. Since we've abandoned the flower vase act, we might as well put, "I'm here for the money," right on our faces. Then they're powerless. Sure enough, the Dingyuan household left flustered, their faces pale. Duan Yuan returned that night. You are straightforward. He pinched my ear. Good. I like that honesty of yours. Following Jiyue's advice had been the right move. Gossip? Let them talk. Practical gains are what matter. For a shrewd, controlling patron, a simple-minded companion is often more appealing. Sister Rong was not sent away, but the cost was steep. House arrest, confiscation of books, reduction of allowance, and her 30-plus attendants cut down to just 2 coarse maids. Jiyue commented, there was never much affection between them. Now it's completely gone. Now she came every day to pay respects, wearing rough clothes and eating plain food. I never troubled her, but also never indulged her. After her greeting, she returned, without a single extra word. She tried to save herself, making embroidered sachets for Duan Yuan, but he threw them away. She feigned illness, invoking her late mother, and he didn't even glance. Only when she actually caught a cold did the servants rush to report it. I was with Duan Yuan, and on hearing the news, I simply had them call the household physician. Duan Yuan sent for the imperial doctor, but didn't move himself. Sister Rong refused to take medicine. The servants pleaded again. Duan Yuan kicked over the cushion on the spot. Wanna die? Give her a 3-foot white silk. Let her end it herself. The room fell silent. A chill ran down my spine. He was truly cold toward his own daughter. I had to speak softly. Marquis, calm down. The child is young, motherless, lacking care. She's just confused. Please check on her. After all, she is the legitimate eldest daughter. Duan Yuan sneered, like her mother, always demanding attention. If I go, who knows what mess she'll make. If Sister Rong truly died from illness, I certainly wouldn't take the blame. I had no choice but to face her. When she saw me, her eyes flickered from hope to disgust. What are you here for? I spoke truthfully. The Marquis sent me. She didn't believe me until the maid knelt and repeated Duan Yuan's words. Her face went pale, as if her soul had been drained. I offered half-hearted comfort. Can't stand it already? Most fathers are like this. I echoed Jiyue. Men don't feel the pain of raising children. They won't care like a mother. Threatening with your own life only seems foolish to him. If he doesn't care, All the more reason to live well yourself. I was about to leave when I saw Duanyuan standing at the doorway. Uneasy. My heart raced. When did he arrive? He gave me a deep look, entered, and sharply scolded Sister Ong. She finally took her medicine obediently. That night, Duanyuan fussed over me unusually, but the next day sent a pile of jewelry, likely a reward for reconciling the night before. Picking up the registry Jiyu had kept, I beamed. You were right. Sincerity really is the ultimate weapon. Jiyu patted her chest proudly. Exactly. The Marquis has power and status, seen all kinds of beauties. As long as we don't act up, behave honestly, everything will come in full. That afternoon, Sister Rong came to pay respects. I frowned. No need to come when sick. She stared stubbornly, then said, Mother and father were once deeply in love, and father promised a lifelong union. But mother had no luck, died after giving birth to my precious brother. Father quickly married Lady Zhu, then Lady Li. They were all replacements for my mother. You too. A replacement, so what? I dismissed it. The Marquis wants me young. I want him wealthy. We each take what we need. I enjoy blessings and pay the price.
Fair.
But you, I raised my eyes. Besides using that bit of bloodline to cause trouble for the Marquis, what have you contributed? Eldest daughter of the house, imitating concubines, gambling your body in defiance, and losing. Aren't you ashamed? Her face turned red with anger. Don't come again. I raised my chin. Being foolish is one thing. Don't infect me. Handling a rebellious stepdaughter. Don't initiate. Don't take responsibility. Don't carry the blame. And still keep her safe.
8.
It was my father's birthday, and I went early. Besides the official gifts, I privately gave my stepmother a note for 1,000 taels of silver. This is saved from my own modest allowances. The household struggles. Mother, take it for your use, but don't tell father. Jiyu had analyzed for me that my stepmother, though temperamental, was kind-hearted, soft of hearing, and sentimental, far more humane than my father, who was entirely concerned with status and profit. Rather than trying to curry favor with father, it was more practical to win over my stepmother. Sure enough, when she held the silver, her eyes reddened. Grasping my hands, she kept saying, You're a good girl. When you were married into the Marquis's household, my heart was like it was on a griddle. Seeing you do well now, I can finally rest. Once I handed over the silver, her words flowed. She spoke of my eldest sister's hardships at her marital home. Her mother-in-law looked down on her more because I married into the Marquis's household, setting rules openly and covertly. My third sister suffered after marrying her true love, serving her widowed mother, and helping with the household, only visiting her maternal home 5 times in 6 months. As for my second sister, my stepmother didn't bother mentioning her. But I noticed her wrist was bare of even her old silver bracelets, and her clothes were half-worn. She noticed my gaze and straightened her back. Our Li family values purity. We do not care for these material things. I looked down at my own clothes. They were the plainest in the wardrobe, but even so, my sisters found them flashy. The eldest accused me of showing off, the second mocked me as a new rich upstart, and the third sneered at my low standards. I merely sighed and spoke of life in the Marquis's household, navigating carefully around stepchildren, reading servants' expressions, daily walking on eggshells. My stepmother's eyes reddened, and she even tried to return the silver. Keep this money for your own needs. My eldest sister stared wide-eyed at the silver. My third sister reached out directly. Since this is about sisterhood, why not use it as capital for your brother-in-law? It may help you in the future. I looked at her half-worn clothes and said sincerely, but the Marquis said, once a man rises, the first thing he does is take a concubine. As for the wife who ages at his side, who remembers her. Silence fell across the table. My sisters' faces were pale with shock. My stepmother clutched the silver and let out a long sigh. Jiyu later whispered in my ear. That last line, so revealing and yet immensely effective. I waved my hand. After seeing enough of men's ways, how could I not be clear-eyed? That day we went to the Chow household banquet. Duan Yuan told me to bring the children over 6 years old. In the carriage, 6 children stared at each other. I clear my throat. While we're out, let's cooperate. Show respect to me in public and I'll give you face. In the future, if you invite your friends to play, I'll handle it. Manpower for manpower, presentation for presentation. 8-year-old Sister Yin's eyes lit up. Really? I want to invite my friends to our house.
Deal.
Just follow me obediently today. The eldest of the 6 children, Sister Rome, was only 11. If anything went wrong while out, my good days would be over. Exchanging benefits was simplest. You give me face, I give you substance. Even Sister Rome bit her lip. Next month, I want to host a small gathering, you can't sabotage it. I looked at her. Just keep your mouth shut today. At the Chow family banquet, the children gave me proper respect. Each stood behind me, polite and attentive, drawing murmurs of admiration. The Marquis's wife is remarkable, teaching stepchildren to behave so well. I accepted the tea Sister Rong handed me with a small smile. It's the Marquis household's upbringing. I just benefit from it. Luck was favorable. I sat at the same table as my eldest sister's mother-in-law, Madame Fong. This 4th-rank lady prided herself on purity and didn't glance at me, only whisper to others. Some people chase status at any cost, ignoring family reputation. Unlike our Fong family, poor but upright. My eldest sister busied herself around her, serving dishes, wiping hands, peeling shrimp, even crouching to help her put on shoes. Those around praised Madame Fong's good fortune, and my eldest seemed proud. Yet Madame Fong still found fault, occasionally scolding coldly. I put down my chopsticks. The Fong and Zhou family's marriage is an alliance between surnames. Why does it look like a maid serving a mistress? Madame Fong's face darkened. What do you know? A daughter-in-law serving her mother-in-law is natural. Is it? I turned to my eldest. Did Madame Fong serve her mother-in-law like this? Did the Fong family's married aunts do the same? The table went silent. One married aunt of the Fong family, seated across, lowered her head guiltily. I smiled. So only my eldest sister has natural duty. Madame Fong, your so-called rules of purity are unique. Madame Fong's face flushed, yet she dared not argue further. My eldest, flustered, scolded me loudly. 4th sister, how dare you speak of my mother-in-law like that? I said firmly. Eldest sister, you are both a Fong daughter-in-law and a Fong daughter. The Fong-Zhou marriage is an alliance, not to make you a humble maid in your marital home. I looked at Madame Fong, raising my voice. Does the Fong family lack maids, that they treat a lawful wife as one? And scold her in front of outsiders? If she were at home, who knows how they would torment my sister? Madame Fong, you pride yourselves on purity, but this is how you treat a daughter-in-law? Secretly, I squeezed Sister Ong's wrist. Give me strength, girl. Normally haughty, she immediately exclaimed in shock. Heavens, this is the Fong family's rule?
Terrifying.
Madame Fong was infuriated, nearly falling back. At the same banquet, other ladies who disliked her seized the chance to mock her. Back in the carriage, Jiyue, stifling laughter, massaged my legs. You really put that old lady in her place today. I closed my eyes to rest. Couldn't just watch my eldest sister be tormented. But weren't you afraid of offending the Fong family? Offend? I opened my eyes. She dares humiliate a Zhou daughter in front of me, and I should show her face? Besides, I gestured to the carriage behind. The children cooperated well today. I've got credibility with the Marquis. Sure enough, that evening, after hearing the whole story, Duan Yuan chuckled. You know how to leverage strength against strength. I lowered my head, giving him a massage, and told him the agreement I had made with the children. He raised an eyebrow. No wonder they obeyed today. Indeed, Madam has her ways. In a good mood, he tossed me a box of Eastern pearls, a reward. Next time, same deal. I accepted it gleefully, but a new concern arose. Though I confronted Madame Fong publicly, given her nature, she might take it out on my eldest. And knowing my eldest, she would probably not thank me, but resent me for causing trouble. I shared my worries with Duan Yuan. He tapped the table twice, then said, "Pure families value two things above all: face and prospects." After a pause, he added, "Tomorrow, take a note from the Marquis household and invite the imperial doctor to the Fong home. Say your eldest sister looked unwell at the Chow banquet and you worry about her health, so you requested a checkup." He smirked. "When the doctor arrives, the Fong family won't dare block him. During the examination, the doctor will see the truth. Whatever the outcome, the Fong family's reputation for mistreating their daughter-in-law will be confirmed." I hesitated. "But then, in the future at the Fong household." "Relax." Duan Yuan took the tea Jiyue handed him. "After the doctor's visit, your stepmother will arrive to take her home. If the Fong family is smart, they'll go along and let your eldest return to her maternal home to recuperate. If they're foolish and block her," he smiled, "I'll personally send a note to Censor Liu at the Ministry of Justice. He loves indicting pure families for misconduct." My eyes brightened. "When your eldest returns home, visit her often, bring the Marquis household's medicine and supplements, make a grand display. Outsiders will see the Fong family as harsh, the Zhou family as benevolent, and the Marquis household as caring. As for Madame Fong, if she has any sense of shame, she won't dare misbehave openly once your eldest is home. As for behind the scenes," Duan Yuan gently set down his teacup, "that depends on your eldest. She has to walk the path herself." I nodded repeatedly, suddenly realizing this slightly tanned, firm, and cold man was solid and appealing. I cupped his face and kissed him squarely on both cheeks. "Marquis, your strategy, both elegant and ruthless. Learned it well." Jiyue had said men inherently enjoy being needed. Now, gratitude directed at him as a hero would suffice. Duan Yuan was pleased, pinching my chin and biting my lips. "That's your gratitude?" I was initially dazed, then closed my eyes, taking the rare initiative. The next day, I woke sore and stiff. Sister Rong and Sister Yin came to pay respects and to follow up on the promise. I waved my hand. "I spoke to the Marquis last night. He supports it and has instructed accordingly. Go ahead and send invitations to your friends. Everything else is your responsibility. If unsure, come ask me. I wouldn't do it myself. If successful, it's their credit. If not, it's their fault. Better let them practice. Call it social and organizational training. If they failed, I could step in and still get credit." Sister Rong and Sister Yin each held gatherings. Whether due to their organizational skills or the Marquis household staff, the events went smoothly. I kept my promise, making a brief appearance, then left the rest to them, sending seasonal fruits and snacks twice during the events. Thus, my reputation as a competent stepmother spread. The children maintained face in front of their friends, contrary to rumors of being tormented by stepmother. They were well cared for, earning respect. Sister Rome cooperated well and was no longer sharp-tongued during greetings. As for my eldest, Duan Yuan's plan worked perfectly. First, the imperial doctor visited, then my eldest was taken home by her stepmother. I visited her with medicines and supplements for her stress-induced illness from her marital home. Madame Fong's reputation was ruined. Finally, my eldest spent 2 comfortable weeks at her maternal home. The Fong family had to pick her up personally and speak politely. From then on, she treated me with courtesy. "Hey everyone, grab a cup of tea, because things are about to get a little more intense." Life in the Marquis' household isn't all silk and serenity. Sometimes it's about strategy, patience, and knowing when to strike. Let's dive into what happens next.
9.
The days of comfort passed swiftly, and in the blink of an eye, I was pregnant. Once the news spread, tonics and beautiful attendants flowed into the Marquis' household. Duan Yuan didn't react much, merely instructing the servants to take good care of me, then turning to visit the concubines' quarters. Within a couple of days, another pretty maid appeared in the outer study. While stirring my bird's nest porridge, Jiyue whispered, "The Marquis dislikes women who've already given birth. They get softer, less exciting." My heart tightened. Does that mean I'll fall out of favor after giving birth? "Life isn't perfect," she handed me the bowl. "With a child by your side, Even if you lose favor, you're still the Marquis's wife. Just don't stir up trouble. Your wealth and status remain. She told me pregnancy was both a blessing and a risk. Having an heir was a blessing, but the master's attention shifting was the risk. The key, she said, was to stay calm. Otherwise, life here would be unbearable. True enough, Duan Yuan didn't touch me during my pregnancy. Outsiders saw this and sent gifts and beauties even more frequently. The Dingyuan Marquis sent lavish offerings, and Madame Zhu's family even dispatched their housekeeper, subtly asking me to care for Zhu's children. I was airtight. The Marquis treats all children equally and has his own judgment. I summoned Zhu's son Xian, letting the Zhu family see with their own eyes that their grandson was neither neglected nor underfed. Naturally, they were reassured. The trickiest were the Li family. Seizing the moment when my son Yin caught a cold, the Li women stormed in, claiming I would abuse the previous children now that I had my own, cursing me with heaven's wrath. Compared to Dingyuan, I disliked the Li family even more. Though daughters of a third-rank official, they acted like street corner shrews, screaming and crying. I listened patiently, sipped half a cup of tea, then smashed the teacup at Madame Li's feet. Enough? I raised an eyebrow. Your Li family upbringing is remarkable, raising a daughter who abandoned her first husband and let the original children die. Yet you have the audacity to come here and make a scene? The best strategy against hysterical opponents is to flip the table. You rant, I expose your secrets. Madame Li's face changed abruptly. I continued. All those vile things Madame Li did back then. The Marquis was merciful not to annihilate her entirely. Now, when Yin falls ill, the imperial doctor and household physician take turns attending him, and you pick this moment. Jealous because I'm pregnant? Planning to send another Li daughter in? Those falsely accused know their innocence better than anyone. Rather than defending oneself, sometimes the best move is to turn the tables. You're slandering me. Slandering? Let's find out, I said to Jiyue. Fetch the Marquis and the old case files of Madame Li. Let the officials of Jingzhou see how a third-rank official's family slandered the Marquis's wife. The Li family panicked instantly. When they finally slunk away, I added, goodbye. From now on, no Li family member need enter again. That evening, Duan Yuan arrived, and after Jiyue recounted the events dramatically, he laughed aloud. Why do you love smashing teacups so much? I sheepishly admitted, I've always felt smashing teacups boosts my momentum. A teacup must be smashed precisely and loudly, but never at a person. We are civilized after all. He chuckled, tossing me a box of jade, for your courage in smashing cups. The next day, after paying respects, Sister Rome lingered, sizing me up with a mischievous tone. I thought you were special, but father took a new concubine, and there are 2 new beauties in the outer courtyard. I put down my teacup and said sternly, you are the eldest daughter of the Marquis's household. One day, you'll be the legitimate wife and mistress. Remember, securing a good marriage relies on rank and integrity, not a man's fleeting affection.
She paused.
I assumed my stepmother posture, rare for me. Only concubines rely on a man's favor. For a legitimate wife, his affection is icing on the cake, never the foundation. Sister Rome protested, but if a man withholds favor, how can a legitimate wife maintain her position? Your father no longer comes to my chambers, I said calmly, but control of the inner household is mine. I manage the finances, and he has never favored a concubine over a wife. I am the Marquis's wife, not a rival concubine. She opened her mouth. Weren't you sad when father became distant? I smiled lightly. Do you know father's nature better than I? Why trouble myself with such laughable affections? Sister Rome understood, somewhat, and left in silence. Jiyue summed up. Madam, today's lesson could be included in self-cultivation of the Marquis's wife curriculum. I beamed proudly. One may not be smart, but one must never be foolish, wasting effort on self-inflicted misery.
9.
Upon learning of my pregnancy, my stepmother also brought my eldest sister to visit. Seeing that all matters of the inner household and mundane affairs had been meticulously arranged by Duan Yuan, her expression softened considerably. "The Marquis is considerate," she said. My eldest sister glanced around, then asked, "With your belly so big, isn't it inconvenient to attend to the Marquis now?" I spoke honestly. Duan Yuan had taken a new concubine, and the outer study had two charming, lively young maids to serve him. Her mouth opened slightly, eyes softening with understanding and pity, yet she comforted me with her words. "Men are like that. Don't take it to heart. Take good care of yourself first." I nodded. It had never really bothered me. I asked about her treatment at her in-laws' house. A smile spread across her face. "Thanks to you. Now, although my mother-in-law's eyes and nose aren't quite right, she no longer dares to order me around lightly." She looked at me sincerely. "You were right. I am the legitimate wife, brought home in a grand sedan chair by the Fong family's matchmakers, not a servant to be beaten or scolded. They used to take advantage of my concern for reputation and their lectures on propriety, but now that I've let it go, they don't dare touch me." Jiyue and I exchanged a glance. Indeed, desirelessness makes one firm. The inner household is yours to command. By the 8th month of pregnancy, the wet nurse, midwife, and female physician had all moved into the marquisate. Old mountain ginseng and various tonics were carefully stocked. Although Duan Yuan was aloof, his thoroughness left no room for complaints. A first pregnancy at 19, naturally, there was fear. Fortunately, Jiayue monitored my meals daily and took me walking. From onset to delivery, it took only 2 hours, and the midwife said, "Madam is fortunate. The child gives no trouble." Duan Yuan, rarely showing emotion, even smiled and gifted a heap of fine items. During the postpartum confinement, he visited only twice. One time, he brought the newly favored Hu concubine, a lean horse from Yangzhou, as graceful as she was beautiful, currently enjoying his favor. When Hu entered, her expression radiated spring. I leaned against the bed, smiling to greet. "The Marquis is here." I then addressed her. "Sister Hu, please sit. You've worked hard serving the Marquis these days. Once I recover, I will properly thank you." She covered her lips and smiled, tinged with pride. "Madam, it is my duty to serve the Marquis." Her new bracelet sparkled brightly. I pretended not to notice and softly said to Duan Yuan, "Marquis, your work has been taxing. Please ensure timely meals." Then to Hu, "As women, our priority is to keep the Marquis at ease. He has always rewarded those loyal and attentive. You need only look at the senior concubines in the household." Duan Yuan raised an eyebrow meaningfully. "Indeed, you understand me." Hu nodded verbally, but her eyes betrayed nonchalance. After they left, Jiyue tucked in my blankets, muttering, "Another one using favor as her trump card." I accepted my ginseng soup. "She's young and inexperienced, understandable." Jiyue chuckled. "You're 19, yet talk like you're 99. I laughed, too. Yet inwardly I knew that if not for Jiyue's constant guidance over the years, I might have fallen into the illusion that his generosity equaled love, and suffered when neglected. Jiyue added quietly, "But your line about, the Marquis rewards the attentive. If Sister Hu understands it, she'll save herself 3 years of mistakes." Hu, young and spirited, blinded by Duan Yuan's generosity, gradually became arrogant. At first, she merely competed with the other concubines, flaunting his favor before me. Seeing I never responded, her boldness grew, eventually reaching for things. One day, Duan Yuan visited my room for a meal, with Hu attending. She never left the topic of how he favored her, and finally pointed at my ice jade bracelet, saying coquettishly, "Madam, this bracelet suits your complexion. I envy it dearly. I wish I had one like it." I disliked fuss and pretenses. When Hu reached for more, I had to stop it immediately. I set down my chopsticks and looked at Duan Yuan. "Marquis, your favor is your concern," I said calmly. "I give Sister Hu face because you like it. But as the main lady of this house, no matter how inadequate I seem, I am your legally wedded wife. For her to encroach, isn't that excessive?" I was confident Duan Yuan was not the type to favor a concubine over a wife. Observing the household, all concubines, favored or not, behaved respectfully, who did not understand rules, but Duan Yuan certainly did. As expected, he glanced at Hu and said coldly, "Confined for 1 month." Hu's face paled. "Marquis, I was only—" "Leave," he said without room for argument. Once she departed, he turned to me, half smiling. "Are you satisfied, madam?" I snorted lightly. "Since you've punished her, I'll say no more. Tolerance has limits. Minor matters can be overlooked, but the main wife's dignity must be upheld." In Duan Yuan's presence, I instructed Jiyue, "Go tell Sister Hu that if she is wise, she will use her confinement to understand that favor or rules are the safer choice." Jiyue nodded and left. Duan Yuan looked at me meaningfully. "You increasingly carry the aura of the Marquis's main wife." I couldn't decipher his intent, but survival instincts trained since childhood prompted me to reply. "Marquis, you overpraise. As your wife, I cannot bring shame to you, can I?" I smiled at him, 3 parts admiration, 5 parts playful. Duan Yuan murmured in agreement. "Indeed, madam, you speak wisely." 5 months after giving birth, under Jiyue's supervision, my figure finally recovered. With Duan Yuan frequently visiting my room again, a new annoyance appeared. My waist ached. Jiyue massaged it while saying, "Consider it wellness. Perfect intimacy is also nourishment." She lowered her voice, "But the Marquis's worn cucumber is too unselective. So many women around. Be careful with your body." Her words rang a warning. Duan Yuan's women never ceased. If something untoward happened, that night, when he visited again, I feigned discomfort. He did not insist, simply advising rest, then went to Hu. Hu quickly regained favor, but had learned her lesson. Before me, she was humble. I didn't make things difficult, merely remarking lightly during her greeting, "That you gain the Marquis's favor is your skill. But think carefully, even if you displace me, the next main wife may not be so patient." Her face paled, and she knelt, pledging loyalty. No sooner had she left than Sister Rong peeked in, fuming. "You tolerate this reckless maid?" I motioned her to sit and spoke slowly. "You will one day be the main lady. Remember, competing for favor lowers your status. In a household of strict rules, maintaining integrity ensures you suffer no loss." "What if the household isn't disciplined?" the girl challenged. "If the household lacks rules, why follow theirs?" I stirred the tea froth. "Flip the table. Reputation matters to the elite. Face matters to the powerful. Use what they cherish most, and everyone will think twice." Sister Rong seemed thoughtful.
10.
By the time Hong was 3, he had become a little shadow trailing Duan Yuan everywhere. Jiyue's strategy, let the child spend more time with his father to strengthen their bond, worked remarkably fast. The boy feared nothing. He tugged at Duan Yuan's beard, climbed onto his lap, and insisted on saving any treats to give to Daddy. Even Duan Yuan's rigid expression softened, forming traces of warmth. He began personally teaching Hong characters and horse dances, sometimes even bringing him along to banquets. Returning home, he would always bring small gifts, sugar figurines, bamboo dragonflies, tiny jeweled bows. They were not valuable, but unique. Gradually, he also became gentler toward me, the child's mother. Let the child act as a diplomatic envoy. Blood ties are the most natural bond and the best channel for exchanging resources, Jiyue had said. Indeed, her words were wise. Because of Hong, Duan Yuan no longer spent much time with concubines, coming almost exclusively to my room. Most of the time he rested there. I felt conflicted, disliking his worn cucumber, yet reluctant to push him away, knowing it could affect our son's future. After all, the higher the mother's status with the man, the more resources and prospects the child could receive. Besides being obedient and sensible, the only other asset I could offer was the body I had honed daily with Jiyue's yoga. Jiyue, as always my eldest confidant and strategist, quickly noticed my hesitation and whispered in my ear, "No matter how dirty, A cucumber can be washed and used. Think of it as sacrificing for our future. Besides, Hong is naturally gifted in competing for attention. As soon as the Marquis comes home, he clings to him, who won't even get a chance. Hong is putting in the effort, you can't hold him back. She was right. No effort, no reward. After mentally preparing myself, the matter of sharing a bed became less resistible. Once Duan Yuan's needs were satisfied, the rewards naturally came. The estates, shops, and assets of the Marquis were gradually entrusted to me. Try managing them yourself first. If you can handle it, these will belong to you and your son in the future. If not, I'll find capable stewards to help, but you must keep them in line.
See?
The more effort you put in, the greater the returns. Since these properties would belong to me eventually, I had every reason to manage them well and not be underestimated. Jue was even more proactive, determined to stick with me for life. She thrived on activity, bustling around tirelessly. Duan Yuan, seeing I could manage, continued assigning tasks. In a few days, the Chen family will have a flower viewing. Take the girls and make an appearance.
Or
Prepare for Rome's coming-of-age ceremony. See to it. When the benefactor issues orders, I handle them steadily, not aiming for glory, only to avoid mistakes. Taking the girls to banquets, arranging poetry gatherings and tea ceremonies, I gradually became adept. By the year of Rome's coming-of-age ceremony, she had blossomed into a graceful young lady. The ceremony went splendidly, and the Marchioness of Dingyuan asked about marriage plans. I smiled and deferred to Duan Yuan. The Marquis has his own judgment. But as the eldest daughter, she must marry appropriately, to one day have Qinyu as a strong ally. She blinked, looking at me deeply. I relayed my words to Duan Yuan, who raised an eyebrow. Aren't you afraid she'll marry high and overshadow you? I've maintained a decent relationship with the eldest. I poured his tea. Why would she overshadow me? I don't block her path. Moreover, for Hong's sake, I wish her to marry well more than anyone. Duan Yuan smiled. Before long, Rong's marriage was arranged. She would marry the eldest grandson of Duke Qinghua, becoming the future matron. I called Rong over and carefully explained the Qinghua family's foundations, the grandson's character, and concluded. Marry well, and Qinyu will have more support in court. This is your father paving the way for you both. Jiyue was right. Handling stepchildren's marriages requires a family strategy perspective. Turning personal unions into political assets ensures everyone's peace of mind. Rome was silent for a long moment, then asked, You really never considered having Hong compete for the heir's position? Compete? I laughed. The Marquisite's heir isn't so easily claimed. I know my limits. If you two are well matched, won't Hong benefit as well? I may not be clever, but I'm not foolish. Tigers fight together, fathers and sons fight side by side. I can see that far enough. She lowered her gaze and, for the first time, bowed politely. Mother, thank you for your care. 11. From that day on, I often invited Qinyu to dine in my courtyard. The boy was cautious at first, barely touching his chopsticks. Understandable, given the recent poisoning scandal involving the stepchild of the Wei family. In front of him, I sampled every dish before feeding it to Hong, then smiled. Eat freely, nothing's poisoned. He paused, then gradually started eating. Duan Yuan later asked why I always called Qinyu over. I told the truth. Qinyu is the eldest son. The Marquis places high hopes on him. I want Hong to form a good bond with him, to rely on his elder brother in the future. Duan Yuan was silent for a moment, then said, Qinyu is neither literarily gifted nor martial, appointing him heir. I can't bring myself to. That's unfair, I replied firmly. Qinyu is sufficient in guarding the family. The Duan family is already illustrious. Maintaining this legacy is already a great achievement. He gazed at me deeply. You are Hong's mother. Don't you consider his future? I do consider it, I said. That's why I support Qinyu. Establishing the eldest as heir follows tradition and creates goodwill with him and the Dingyuan household. Why wouldn't I? He finally smiled. You're right. A few days later, I summoned Qinxue and explained the matter of the heir. He grasped his hands tightly, fingers widening, but his eyes sparkled. The Marquis will soon appoint the heir. Perform well. Don't disappoint him. He lifted his head sharply, breath quick. After a long moment, he respectfully saluted me. Thank you, mother. After the heir was confirmed, Qinxue visited my courtyard more frequently. His mind relaxed, and his studies improved rapidly. Even Duan Yuan, when inspecting, rarely praised with a simple, not bad. On my 24th birthday, I held only a small gathering at the residence. Rome used her mother's dowry to gift me a 12-panel gold-threaded Nanma folding screen, the mountain birds carved lifelike. The Dingyuan household also sent generous gifts. Jiyue spent half a day copying the gift list. Muttering, she said, "Winning hearts, madam, you truly have a gift." I glanced at the stacked silk boxes in the storehouse, smiling. Flattery. You must credit the teacher. But our peaceful days barely lasted 2 months before new trouble arrived. During greetings, Zhao concubine suddenly knelt, tearful, pleading for me to take charge. Her 5th son had recently complained of headaches while reading, and she suspected someone's interference. Madam, I am powerless. Only ask that you protect my child. Her eyes flicked toward Wang concubine, the longtime servant of Duan Yuan. Jiyue clicked her tongue behind me. I calmly raised my teacup. If the child is unwell, summon the imperial physician first. If someone intends harm, I paused, eyes sweeping the room of submissive concubines. The Marquis hates mischief in the inner household most. If discovered, 3 feet of white silk might be the lightest punishment. The room fell silent. Zhao concubine choked back her tears. Once everyone left, Jiyue whispered, Zhao concubine hopes to use your hand to topple Wang concubine. She controls the household's medicine. If the 5th is harmed, she would be first blamed. I massaged my temples. These women cannot enjoy a quiet life without causing trouble. The wind never stops. Jiyue rubbed my shoulders. The air is set. Some must plan for their own children. Now you have Hong, he's a prime target in their eyes. Sure enough, a few days later, when Duan Yuan came for dinner, he asked suddenly, "Did I hear Zhao went to cry at your place?" I handed him a piece of steamed fish, tone casual. 5th had a headache, she panicked. The imperial physician examined him. Too much reading, he just needs rest. Duan Yuan raised an eyebrow. You didn't make a scene? Make a scene about what? I smiled. A stable inner household lets the Marquis focus on court. I may be foolish, but I understand that much. He studied me for a while, then gently rubbed my hair. You are indeed easy to deal with. That night he stayed in my room, suddenly saying, Wang has been with me 12 years. Always reliable. Zhao too clever. Half asleep, I murmured.
He continued.
Hong should begin his lessons. Qinxue's former tutor was excellent. We'll have him come over. I instantly became more alert. It was both a reprimand and compensation. Wang cannot be touched, but Hong's well-being is noted. A few days later, on the eve of Rong's wedding, she came to sit in my room, wearing her crimson wedding robe, expression a little dazed. Mother, I'm a little afraid. The word, mother, sounded natural, and I was momentarily taken aback, then said gently, Afraid of what? Qinxue's household is high-ranking and strict, but you are the eldest of the Marquis. Marry there, you'll be the proper matron. Stay upright, and no one can surpass you. She looked down at the double-petaled lotus embroidery on her sleeve, then said, I always said you were a stand-in.
I'm sorry.
I smiled. Nonsense. Everyone has their own path. Haven't you understood that now? She lifted her head, eyes moist. Thank you for not holding it against me. After sending Rong off, Jiyue removed my hairpins and whispered, The eldest truly understands now. Looking in the mirror, I exhaled softly. The days ahead are still long.
12.
When Hong was 6, Duan Yuan suddenly began to reform his ways and cultivate a more refined life. The trigger came one day after school, when Hong tugged at my sleeve and asked, Why were Minister Liu and the Earl of Yong'an both demoted to Lingnan? The Earl's heir's wife went home immediately, but why does Minister Liu's wife go with him to suffer? I smiled and replied, because Minister Liu takes no concubines, sleeps only with his wife, and throughout his life has only her. A good husband like that, any man with a shred of conscience would never abandon his wife. By contrast, the Earl of Yong'an's heir has a house full of women, treats his wife poorly, and she can hardly be expected to stick with him. She's lucky just to escape unscathed. I then took the opportunity to teach Hong. When you grow up, remember to treat your wife well. Just like Minister Liu. Though demoted to Lingnan, he has his wife with him day and night, so he's never lonely. Hong asked again. But Daddy has so many concubines. Mother, you never seemed angry at him. I sighed, hugging him and kissing his cheek. That's different. Your father is my superior. I rely on him for food and shelter. Of course I can't offend him. By chance, Duan Yuan overheard this. He didn't comment at the time, but that night, for the first time, he didn't visit any concubine's room, instead sitting alone in the outer study until late. 3 days later, he dismissed the study's maidservant with a generous sum. The concubines who had lived along the main path were sent to other residences for care and retirement. Jiu Yue, shelling sunflower seeds, commented, "This little master's move hit the middle-aged man's soul, identity, family reputation, and his legacy." I held my hand warmer and sighed. Well, now the entire capital will call me jealous. Jealous? Jiu Yue spat out a shell. The Marquis suddenly saw sense. No matter how many concubines and illegitimate sons, nothing compares to the eldest son's legitimate mother. Haven't you noticed he's even stopped drinking whose tonic soup recently? Indeed. Ever since dismissing the concubines, Duan Yuan's visits to my room became regular, sometimes bringing Hong to the training ground, both returning covered in mud. When Rome came back after her marriage, she asked me secretly, "Father, has he changed?" I pinched a cherry pastry and smiled. Changed? Not really. He's just at an age where he can't be bothered with frivolity, and he's rediscovered the warmth of family. She covered her lips and murmured, "Mother, you're so clear-headed." Of course. Duan Yuan now treated me differently. My jewelry box filled with palace-style hairpieces, the estate's income at my disposal, even Chinese assignments allowed me a say. But the more that happened, the more I recalled Jiu Yue's warning. Men are only obedient when hung on the wall. I couldn't hang a man on the wall. I could only guard myself and not let so-called love entangle me. 13. The marriages of Duan Yuan's children followed like a banquet stream, one after another. Rome married well, Qinyu what a noblewoman, all dignified and splendid. When it came to Xian, son of Lady Zhu, things stalled. Noble families found him middling, while the well-matched considered the match not worth it. I worked tirelessly to no avail and finally tossed the hot potato back to the Zhu family. "It's your nephew. You deal with it." In the end, Zhu sent a legitimate daughter. After the wedding, Duan Yuan counted the long-stored dowry of Lady Zhu and added property and land for Xian, sending them to live in their own household. Next was Yin, son of Lady Li. With a dismissed biological mother, his marriage was harder, limited to lower-status families. Duan Yuan allotted him less property, but still enough for lifelong comfort. Watching the estates and ledgers remain full, I had to admit, the Duan family was wealthy indeed. On the eve of each illegitimate son's marriage, I would secretly slip a red envelope containing several hundred taels of silver. "These are my personal savings, not much, just a token," I whispered, shyly. "Don't let the Marquis know." The boys held the envelopes with complex expressions, gratitude, surprise, but mostly realization. This seemingly indifferent legitimate mother was quietly looking out for them under the father's stern gaze. The same routine applied to illegitimate daughters. Jiu Yue, tallying my private coffers, raised an eyebrow. "Madam, these investments are pure profit. Now all the illegitimate children see you as a pitiful mother protecting her offspring under a tiger-like father." I twirled a newly acquired bead between my fingers and smiled. Whether I'm pitiful or not isn't important. What matters is that when they think of the marquis, they remember a mother who secretly provides for them. That kind of debt of gratitude is more valuable than gold. 15. The reversal came when Hong turned 10. Duan Yuan was struck by a severe cold. This man, who had licked blood on the battlefield, was bedridden for over a month. The imperial physician shook his head repeatedly. Preparations for the worst were quietly made. The eldest son, Qinxue, remained steady, while Rong and the other children tended him day and night, a model of filial devotion. Only Hong, besides staying vigilantly by the bed, poked at his father's nose every few minutes, crying with swollen eyes. "Don't leave me, Daddy." One night, Duan Yuan's high fever suddenly subsided. Upon opening his eyes, he saw his young son asleep by his hand, tear streaks on his face. The 48-year-old man's eyes welled up, yet he propped himself up. Once recovered, he decisively divided the family, the majority of the estate to Qinxue, each other child a tenth. Yet he alone placed a mutton-fat jade ring on Hong's thumb, personally taught him horsemanship and archery, summoned a great scholar, and even undertook dangerous court missions, risking old wounds for the emperor's praise. This child is worthy of protection. Flipping through Hong's suddenly extensive ledger of private assets, I sighed to Jiuyue. "You truly understand human nature." She, busy with her abacus, didn't look up. Even the toughest and coldest men, when sick, are vulnerable. A child's tears are like armor-piercing bullets. And a father like the Marquis, normally an iron wall, once cracked, his guilt and love flood like a tide. She added, "Madam, this was a high-return emotional investment." I laughed. Indeed, Duan Yuan's transformation might be 70% genuine, but my safety net had long been fully prepared. When begonia petals fell across the steps, Duan Yuan led Hong inside. The boy ran to him, presenting a written piece like a treasure, while Duan Yuan naturally took the ledger from my hands. "The candlelight hurts your eyes." The flickering light touched his graying temples, softening his usually stern features. I suddenly recalled the wedding night, Jiuyue squatting by the footrest, nibbling on sesame cakes. "Marquis," I brushed petals from his shoulder, "I feel like eating sesame cakes." He froze slightly, likely recalling the maid who had slipped me a cake to stave off hunger. A faint smile appeared in his eyes, truer than any vow. "Tell the kitchen to make some."
See?
Life continued like this, clear-headed, warm, and always remembering. Those who listen are blessed, but one must hold their own fortune firmly.
16.
By the time Xian could recite the 1,000-character classic, Jiuyue and I swore sisterhood. At the ceremony, both Duan and Zhou family elders and longtime friends were present. Though some scoffed, one's assent lifts all. Hong and Duan Yuan's children respectfully addressed Jiuyue as aunt and offered gifts. The hall was silent except for the soft crackle of candle flames. Jiuyue chose the most independent path, remaining unmarried, taking a nominal position in a Taoist temple, managing the properties I had granted her, traveling across Jiangnan and the north with her retinue. Rong, now a formidable matron of the Qinghua household, always liked to retreat to my courtyard when visiting. Seeing the table of fresh goods, sent by Jiuyue, she whispered, "Sometimes I really envy you." I was tying a crystal bracelet from Jiuyue in Hangzhou around my wrist and looked up. "Look at your father," she murmured, once so driven by ambition, now willing to let go of fame and fortune to train Hong every day. The whole capital says Daddy's late years are tamed by his youngest son. I followed her gaze. On the training ground, Duan Yuan taught Hong the Duan family spear techniques. His side profile was softer than in youth. Hong tilted his head to say something, and his father laughed, ruffling his son's hair. Not tamed, I threaded golden silk through the jade reel. Only in old age do we realize. Achievements of gold and stone grow cold, but blood and family warmth remain. Rome was silent for a long moment, then finally whispered,
Emma.
Many years later, As the noble ladies of the capital debated whether marrying high or low was harsher, I would often touch the aged yellow crystal bracelet on my wrist and recall Jiyue's early wisdom. If the foundation is strong as iron and stone, any marriage is your home court. If it's weak as straw and paper, any marriage becomes a battlefield. And that girl who taught me to see all this had become like the spring wind, everywhere, nourishing me. End of text. Watching her just eat and laugh while the city goes crazy around her, it's absolute chaos and total satisfaction. She didn't need anyone to fight for her. She took the crown and the pork knuckles herself. Honestly, you have to admire her confidence, sass, and sheer audacity. Pure entertainment.